Welcome back once again to another Chef Knives to Go Quick Look product review. I'm Steve Gamache, and this time we've got fairly new line from Mark. This is the Yahiko, and this series is the steel is AUS or AUS-8, possibly 8A, didn't really specify. Gyuto 210mm knife, so that's the model of this line. Core steel again is AUS or AUS-8, full stainless steel. This steel is used frequently in hunting and survival knives and other purposes. It's known to be pretty tough steel, and depending on how it's heat treated, of course, and the geometry of the particular blade or tool you're using, but it's got some definite toughness to it. Heat treat, not specified. I'm going to guess it's anywhere between 58, 59, maybe 60, probably in that range. Construction is mono steel, so there's no layers or cladding or anything. It's just one hunk of steel. Likely laser cut and then ground to shape. The weight and dimensions should be pretty close from knife to knife. This one's 174 grams or 6.1 ounces. Edge length right about 213 millimeters on the edge from the tip to the back of the heel. Overall length is about 330 millimeters or 13 inches. These are pretty thin blades and pretty just similar thickness throughout. So it's basically around 2.2 millimeters towards the back, and I measured about 2.1 in the middle, which just could be some variation, but it does thin out, as you can see, a bit as you go. And then look how thin that tip is. One of the characteristics of this knife line is the performance is excellent. And you can see how thin that tip is? Let's go back again. Just making sure you're getting this. So that tip is really thin, and does it work through stuff? Oh yeah. So this thing just screams through things like onions, onion dice, horizontal cuts, that kind of stuff, vertical cuts. Pretty thin at the edge. So it's an excellent performing knife. Got a fair amount of stiffness towards the back half and a little bit of give towards the front, of course, given the geometry. Blade height, 44¼ millimeters at the back, so it's not a very tall knife. The handle isn't particularly wide, kind of typical, but you're not going to have loads of clearance depending on your particular handhold. If you got really big fingers, you may find this a little on the short side or less tall side at the back for your preference, but for most purposes should be just fine. The handle is black Packawood, stabilized wood product, pretty standard type handle. Fit and finish is really very, very good. No rough spots at all, no raised ridges or rivets or anything on the tang, full tang construction. Nice taper from the bolster right into the blade, so real nice, nicely done. Balance point is right about there, so it's pretty much right where that bolster starts coming down and curving into the blade. We'll get our beauty shot here. How's that work? That looks pretty good. So you've got machine finish, vertical sanding marks, and you've got an etched kanji on the right side of the blade as if you'd be holding it. Left side of the blade, it's plain. I'd say the edge bevel on this is maybe on the 70-30 range. You can see a fairly significant edge bevel on the right side of the blade, and the edge bevel on the left side of the blade is a lot smaller. So for me, these did steer just a little bit. They're taller products. You could correct that by sharpening the left side a little bit more and bring that, the actual edge more towards the center of the blade. You may not even notice it. I don't know. You'll have to find out if you get one. So really, really good performance on these things. Very impressed. Edge profile, I'd say also out of the box edge, I'd give it a 6, 7 out of 10. Very sharp out of the box. They did a really nice job on the edges on these. They are very sharp out of the box. Let's look at the profile on this. I'll cover the fit and finish a little bit too. I'll go backwards, getting ahead of myself. Here is your edge profile. Pretty good all around profile. It's got a little bit, not a lot of flap, but just a little bit of kind of less belly towards the rear. You've got a little bit of back belly towards the back. Kind of a spear tip on it, so you can get pretty high on this, right in there before I start rocking it or hitting the tip into the board. So should handle pretty good. It's not a pure rocker, but it'll handle a lot of techniques pretty well. Not a pure chopper either. They've done a nice job on fit and finish. As I mentioned, the handle's really nice. They've relieved the spine just a little bit so it's comfortable. You could be rounded possibly a little bit more, but I think it's adequate for probably most people. The choil, as is common with a lot of this style of knife, is a little bit sharp on both sides on the back there. So a little bit of sandpaper strips on that. You could probably knock that out in 10-15 minutes and get it cleaned up a little and smoothed out if you feel the need. Totally up to you. But just a real impressive knife. Sharp, great performance, tough steel, really value priced. So it's it's a good value knife. Just really cool line. So this is the Yahiko AUS-8 or AUS-8 Gyuto 210 millimeter knife.